wait, you talked a little bit about the staff, and you've obviously, in order for you to run all these concepts, you had to staff them up. And it sounds like it's growing pretty quickly here. And I read that you guys are deeply committed to your community, your staff, some of those practices around there. So talk to us about your ethos around staffing and culture that you've created for your restaurants.
Sure. It's always a work in progress. But
Yeah.
early on, I think because we were in it so much and with our team day to day, we've really set the tone for we're all doing just as much work. So we all need to make sure that we're all distributing that profit, that wealth, whatever it may be, the salaries. And as we've
That's wonderful.
grown, yeah,
Mhm.
it's not easy. I mean,
No.
as we've grown, we have really tried a lot of different things in terms of making sure that our staff is making a livable wage. And this is something that we started, I would say, really focusing on year 3, year 4.
Mhm.
Nobody's ever made close to minimum wage. Nobody has ever made tipped minimum wage in our establishments. And we've really just had our eye on the pulse on what an aggregated wage looks like we call it a guaranteed wage that we do. And it is a base wage with tips. We did try and do away with tips for a little bit post the reopen of the pandemic, and it
That
helped.
go.
I'm really proud of what we did. So
Mhm.
we closed, like everyone. Well, not everyone, but we closed
A lot.
a lot in mid-March 2020. We reopened May 1st,
Mhm.
2020, but we only opened for takeaway and outdoor dining. And we did that. This was at the time at both Burger Stand locations for an entire year. We did that for a lot of different reasons, but when we reopened for probably 3 or 4 years prior to the pandemic, we had been really tracking wages and tips and what everybody was making. So we were
Mhm.
calculating what the tip average was, making sure that we could really keep bumping people up, knowing that tips were a part of our culture. And as much as we wanted to really not rely so much on those, that was the reality then. When we reopened, had a hospitality fee of 15%. So think a service charge. It wasn't a
Yeah.
direct redistribution to our staff, but what it did was we then raised everyone's base wage to above $15 an hour. And that was
Well,
still
that's
less than
great.
what they were making prior
Yeah.
with the kind of tip combo. And it was really well received by guests, definitely by
Mhm.
staff, but by guests for the first year. Everyone was so excited to be out, and they wanted the dialogue was, we really want to make sure that we're supporting these people in our community
Yeah.
that are feeding us and all the things. It slowly kind of died, the excitement for it died away. I think as we returned to kind of normal cadence of working and being out and about in communities, a lot more fees started going around that weren't related to, wages, but
Mhm.
we become inundated as customers with a lot of different fees. But
Mhm.
we kept that hospitality fee for 3 years. And what that did throughout that time was it gave us more information, more data for us to use, that when we took it away 2 years ago, we did not have to change anybody's wages. We changed our model a little bit, but everybody is making what they were with that base wage being so high or more. And that feels really good, because just because we got rid of that, we did make some menu increases, but that's also related to food costs and other rising costs of business,
Yeah.
right? But I think what it did was it helped create a dialogue with our customers. We really wear our beliefs on our sleeve and make sure that our staff is at the forefront of any of these decisions that we make. And I think we've earned the trust with our staff for sure on making these decisions, and that we'll fix it if it needs to be, if it isn't the right call and all of our predictions aren't really working out. But we've also gained a lot of trust with our guests, which I think is so crucial. And that was early on when, back to us opening a gourmet burger restaurant, when that wasn't really super popular in Lawrence. I mean, we were introducing ingredients that now are just totally mainstream, but that weren't mainstream. So our guests had to trust us to explain what Kobe beef was, American Kobe beef was, what truffle was. And that was a really good foundation for us. So we built a lot of trust with our guests. And I think that what that has done, that just helped us as we kind of navigated the hospitality fee and our wages and what things are going, where the money is going. We know that it's just so important that we're living that we're actually doing what we're saying we're doing. And our staff will tell you if we're not. And that's great. I want them to, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask, did the staff prefer the tipping or did they prefer the 15% service charge?
The first year that we had the service charge, the hospitality fee, we did not allow credit card tips because we really wanted our books to be clean, but there were a lot of cash tips. But we also were a very slim staff because we were only open out for takeaway and outdoors. So we were a very minimal staff. But guests and staff were like, people still want to tip. We need to make this happen. And we were like, absolutely. Got it. No problem. We just didn't want to confuse guests, which in the 2 years following, definitely confused guests that there was still the tip option. Again, it just kind of ramped up, not by our own. It was just the way that the things were. But
I think the nature of the industry.
Totally.
Yeah.
So as we've moved away from the hospitality fee, we do a tip share model for the front of house and the back of house, or at our event space. We distribute all the tips amongst the team. And I think that what that does is that really creates that team ethos. So we're all working together to provide the best for our guests and our spaces. Everyone is not paid the same base wage because there's, different positions and
of course. Yeah.
Tenure and performance reviews and whatnot. But, it's not perfect, but we're trying. And the more feedback we get, we kind of evaluate things on a quarterly basis to make sure that our tipping percentage is still really hitting where it needs to. And our goal for this year is to increase wages, all base wages, by at least $1 across the board.
This is a hot issue. I mean, we've been through it before on a previous podcast with another guest about tipping and removing the tipping culture and how difficult that is, especially when you have the threat of losing talent over, I can make more money in tips over at XYZ restaurant, and because I don't have to share them or whatever it might be. But then to the guest of understanding the economics of restaurants and how razor thin the margins are. Yeah. So to explain, we don't want you to leave extra money and have this disparity of the wages between the front of house and the back of house. So we're putting a blanket charge on everything and understanding, well, why don't you just, charge what you can and pay your people more? It's it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It is, restaurants make a lot of money, but then they spend almost all of it. And hopefully, I don't know if Lawrence, Kansas is going to change the view of the entire country, but let's hope it does, because I think that's a great plan for what you're doing.
It'd be great. I think customer education is so important because it is really, really hard to navigate all charges and just how the things work. And the hospitality industry in particular is so unique in the way that you pointed to it. I mean, it's estimated that for every $1 that's spent at a small independent restaurant, 85 to 95% on that dollar is going back into the community. And that's huge. And so the impact, and that also means that, the profits are also pretty slim.
They're all very slim.
When we think about the folks that are working in these establishments, I mean, they should be getting a lot of that, right? But we have so many costs that I just don't think that unless you've been in this industry and been the plumber, that then have to call a plumber, they just add up so fast. It's so brutal.
Yeah.
You got to be open
the
every
industry.
day. And you hit on a word there. Yeah, but don't we all? It's good days and bad days like anything else. But I think, I left the restaurant industry and I came back twice. So it just continues to bring me back. So the demand for group and private events is at an all-time high. Is your business ready to capitalize on all these opportunities? With Restaurant as your booking partner, you can ensure event success this year and beyond.
With no booking fees or commissions, Restaurant has helped over 2,000 restaurants, bars, and breweries reach local event planners who are looking for a space for their next gathering. Whether it's a birthday, anniversary, graduation, or corporate event, Restaurant will get your space booked.
Try it today and receive 3 months completely risk-free by signing up at restaurant.com/podcast. That's restaurent.com/podcast.